Jack. Keep it alive through these lines I write. I keep it live cause I thrive. I might just blow your mind tonight. I'm so hyped but it's no hype. From this height it's direct hits on sight. I'm your type, lend me your ears to show you that there's something in me. I'm not giving up, I'm standing right here holding these days hostage. And I'll make this my year. We turning fear into love and the love's in the air. I love doing this cause nothing compares. Nothing can share that same type of feeling when you feeling them flares. They can't catch it, it's havoc. I rip to a tear, switch a scenario on stereos, I leave them impaired. Variables start to change and they're all in my range. I just gotta grab it, it's all mathematics. Every step is drastic, I make it fantastic. I'm trying to take your breath away. Asthmatic.
This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo. This is live through the stereo. Go and let it blow, blow through the stereo. I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo, stereo.
Yeah, just nod your head with it, so explicit and vivid. Every image is intricate, intimate. I put my all into it, no scrimmage and no rules. I'm a pro tool, hear my heartbeat, beat into the vocals. I'm so loco, lost my mind, oh no. It's ponderoso, dope, so no overdose, cause it's dope, yo. Man, this is house grown, mixed with some milestones. So I let the style flow down like the Dow Jones, bringing it with some foul tones, letting the crowd know we getting loud, so it's eardrum rudiments. Yeah, we bring it rude again. Move, little hooligan. Music for tuning in, full time to the 10. I'm on my clock like I told you. I'm doing this for dreams we pursuing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anti-Media Radio. Once again with your host, Nick Bernabe, here on UCY.tv. Thank you all for tuning in and welcome to the show. Make sure you catch us Monday through Friday at the same time here at this on the UCY.tv channel. And catch all the other awesome hosts here on UCY as well, because there's a bunch of different perspectives and we're not the only ones here by any means. Where there's all kinds of different people. We have various different hosts ourselves as well. We have SM Gibson, and he always has a bunch of good guests on. We have Levon on Fridays, get a little bit different tone, a little bit different message on Fridays. So yeah, check us out 5 days a week, same time. Really easy to listen to us. You can catch us from the phone. If you got a smartphone, you can catch us there as well. So it doesn't have to be from your computer. You can get us on the go in your car while you're driving. And then also check us out on UCY's YouTube channel, because you could, if you missed the show at night, you could listen to it on YouTube, or here on UCY. There's also some archives you could listen there too. So if you're not able to catch us on a certain day, if you want to hear us, look us up on YouTube. You'll find us. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry, I'm a little under the weather tonight, guys. I'm a little bit sick here. I was actually supposed to be out at a protest today and doing the show live from there. That didn't work out because I just wasn't feeling good. So that kind of sucked. And then we had some unfortunate issues today on Facebook, and I had recently got done getting banned, and it's conveniently, this stuff is happening as this, uprising in in Baltimore is going on, and I'm dealing with the ban, and then today the Facebook image scraping, whatever you want to call it, interface stopped working, so we couldn't even post articles after like 4 o'clock that were new articles. I had 2 articles that I just got done editing around 5 o'clock, and they just wouldn't let me post them correctly. And I mean, it was just a bunch of horrible things going on. I'm not exactly sure. I'm hoping it's just a Facebook glitch, all coincidence and stuff. But of course, the conspiracy theorist in me is like, oh, well, maybe they're doing something because of what's going on in Baltimore and all that stuff. I mean, who knows? Anyway, we got a couple callers on the line already. I think I'm joined by my co-host DB Schwartz. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. I had to call in on the phone. The computer's not working too well. So who knows what's going on.
Well, I'm glad that you called in. We missed you last show. Now, DB, you just got back from Peru. How'd that go?
It was interesting, they're getting down there, going to Philly before, and then Florida and everything, and just a totally different world down there. Things are changing. They're starting to feel things affecting them from our trade policies. They kind of have already jumped the gun on TPP, and I found out that they're already kind of being infiltrated as far as their vaunted GMO-free food supply. It's already starting to get mixed in with some of this conventional garbage that we have up here, and it's right under the rug to people. They don't even understand what's going on right now. When I told them what was going on, they were starting to get pretty mad because they voted for a 20-year moratorium, and now the government's trying to backdoor them.
It's pretty sad, man. Yeah, they're known for their really high quality of food, really clean food supply down there. And then, of course, you got all the other stuff that goes on in Peru, like Machu Picchu and all those really cool monuments and like the Nazca lines. And then, of course, you got the ayahuasca experience and stuff, too.
Exactly, yeah. It's a very spiritual place, and the people are really nice, and it's just kind of sad to see the whole creeping multinational corporations just getting in there, too, and starting to kind of Americanize it.
The funny thing that I was thinking about right now, because I remember we posted a meme on the anti-media not too long ago about if Jeb or Hillary ends up becoming president, which country would you move to? And I remember a lot of the people that were commenting were saying I'd move to Peru. Peru's a good place. And I don't know, a lot of people seem to like that place.
Well, yeah, outside of Lima, it's still got its character, but a third of the people live in Lima, so they don't have to focus anywhere else, really. Lima controls the whole country. And I also heard from other people that Argentina is now, on the verge of a collapse as far as their own economy, because they've started to replace the cattle rearing they were doing on the Pampas with soybean production. Why? Because China is buying up the land, and they're getting rid of the herds of cattle and planting soybeans for their own population. So, I mean, you can see these multinational corporations, be they Chinese or American, just ruin the way of life wherever they go.
Yeah, that's really sad, man, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important to spread the information that we spread and talk about things like the TPP. And you mentioned the TPP earlier. Let's get that off the docket right now, because I know we're going to get kind of intertwined in this whole Baltimore controversy and stuff.
It feeds it, though, Nick. See, they're interrelated, because the economy's been so bad so long for people that can't go to college, that don't have the means or the ability, or whatever you want to call it. The blue-collar jobs, the working-class jobs for these guys that are out there, not all of them are protesting. A lot of them are just pissed off and fed up, and they have nothing they can do and nowhere they can go.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, this TPP thing is going to exacerbate all of that, all these issues, and it's been known as the NAFTA on steroids. If anyone out there unfamiliar with it, because it is a really unpopular topic, because it's a boring ass thing to talk about, and we try to spice it up here a little bit when we talk about it. But I see all the memes and stuff on Facebook, and we post articles about it, and they always seem to fall flat. I mean, I don't know, people just don't want to read it, or if it's being suppressed, or the information, whatever. We know that the facts are being hidden. And Obama was confronted on it the other day, because Elizabeth Warren, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about her, but at least she's talking about this kind of stuff. And Obama came out and defending himself against Elizabeth Warren. He's like, well, if you look at the facts, you'll see that it's not a bad deal. It's a good deal for working Americans and stuff. It's like, thanks, Obama. I mean, we'd like to see the facts. Unfortunately, you've been keeping them completely secret the whole time. You know what I mean? The only information that we know about the TPP has come from WikiLeaks. Everything else, that's it.
Right. And what has been leaked is just a lobbyist's wet dream and a working man's nightmare. I mean, what you're seeing is the gutting of the unions of any job. Any job that can be done out of this country will be outsourced once the TPP is signed, sealed, and delivered. I mean, if you think it's bad right now with call centers going to India, you can imagine literally anything that can be done mobily will be sent wherever it's cheapest.
Yeah, exactly, man. And that's one of the things that people don't realize about this whole TPP, and people, not even hardly anybody even knows about it. But it's a big deal, and we got to continue to talk about it. And it's going to affect a lot of people the way NAFTA did. It undermines. It's really a big way to exploit near slave labor, right? It's a way to open up all the lines for these people to go in and exploit labor at really cheap costs, and then they could build all these crappy goods, and then if anybody says, hey, we don't want your goods that are made by slaves in this country or that country, well, then those companies under the TPP will be able to go in and start suing countries preemptively, by saying, hey, you can't impede on our profits expectations, so we're going to sue you for those lost profits. And that's the way that this TPP works.
China is not part of the TPP, which is a bit surprising to me, and it seems to me like in order to compete with the 1.3 billion people that are willing to work for, $5 a day, they expect that to hit here, and they kind of are preemptively getting ready for that and getting ready for the police state when they tell people, hey, guess what? All the money in your bank, we had to take it because we're broke. And oh, by the way, the dollar you're working for now is worth, I don't know, a tenth of what it was yesterday. Enjoy the new American lifestyle. And they know people are not going to take it.
Yeah, and Baltimore is kind of proof of that, and you're right, it does tie in. And I want to read this statement here that was we're quoting it from a VP from the Orioles, and I mean it's the most unlikely of sources. But this is our most viral article from the last 2 days on the whole site, but definitely on the topic of what's going on in Baltimore. But let's see, this guy, his name is John P. Angelos, and he's the executive vice president of the Baltimore Orioles. He's the son of the owner, which, whatever, that's irrelevant. But this is what he said, and this statement has been making pretty big waves. One, because it crosses the lines and stuff, but two, because it's, the stuff the guy's saying, it's really true, and it rings really similarly to what you were just talking about, DB. And so this whole statement that he put out, it was in response to this media pundit that's a local in Baltimore that's pretty pretty popular. But this is what he said. And he's talking to this guy named Brett, and this is a reply to what this one guy was saying. And this one guy was, saying like, oh, these guys are just a bunch of thugs, the typical talking point, a bunch of thugs destroying their own neighborhood and stuff. Okay. This is the VP of the Orioles' response to that guy. Brett, speaking only for myself, I agree with your point that the principle of peaceful nonviolent protest and the observance of the rule of law is of utmost importance in any society. MLK, Gandhi, Mandela, and all great opposition leaders throughout history have always preached this precept. Further, it is critical that in any democracy, investigation must be completed and due process must be honored before any government or police members are judged responsible. Now, that first statement, cool. It's like, yeah, there should be some kind of civility, right? But this first statement here is a little bit flawed because, he's saying like, yeah, we should let this play out through the courts and stuff. But at the same time, Freddie Gray didn't get played out in the courts. The guy got caught with a pocket knife. That was his crime, and he was killed because of it. He didn't have due process, and that's one of the reasons why people are so pissed off, is because so many people are getting killed without due process. It's one thing for a guy to kill another guy, and it's a crime, it's a murder. But when it's these people that are supposed to be the cops, that are supposed to be protecting and upholding the laws of the land, that are the ones breaking them and getting away with it with impunity, that's going to piss a lot of people off. So let me go into this next part. Let me go into this next part here. We'll get through this statement, and then we'll talk about it after. That said, my greater source of personal concern, outrage, and sympathy beyond this particular case is focused neither upon one night's property damage nor upon the acts, but is focused rather upon the past 4-decade period during which an American political elite have shipped middle-class and working jobs away from Baltimore and cities and towns around the U.S. to third-world dictatorships like China and others, plunged tens of millions of good, hardworking Americans into economic devastation, and then followed that action around the nation by diminishing every American's civil rights protections in order to control an unfairly impoverished population living under an ever-declining standard of living and suffering at the butt end of an ever more militarized and aggressive surveillance state. So that right there, man, that right there, I read that and I was like, holy shit, this guy actually gets it. He's like, getting down to the very underlying root of all this stuff. And keep in mind, what he's saying here, it negatively affects the, minorities in a much greater way. But in the end, it does affect everybody in one way or another, because the fact of the matter is it's not these looters that are looting CVS that we really have to worry about. It's these enormous oligarchs that are looting entire countries that we have to start worrying about, man. And it's like, where in the hell is the, outrage at the Federal Reserve? And where in the hell is the outrage at Bank of America and all these people that have been looting us like crazy? But then all of a sudden, everybody's an expert on protesting when a few people burn down a CVS, man. It's insane.
Well, it just I'll keep saying, until it hits enough people are going to be in the dark. They're going to continue to live the illusion. Things still work for a great majority of people in the country. Otherwise, we would see these riots and revolutions be happening. And like I was saying to a lot of people, this is a litmus test. Let's start it here. Baltimore is the second largest independent city in the country. It's right next to D.C. I mean, it's their test bed. They want to see how this plays out. They want to see how people react. If people are going to, docilely accept a 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew citywide, they know they're going to be able to get them to give up their guns and get chipped and any other stupid dystopian future plans these guys have. People got to make a stand somewhere, and they're taking baby steps. They're not going to go all out at one time.
Exactly, man. We're going to get into this martial law stuff coming up soon, coming up next, as far as this curfew and all this stuff. But I agree with you, definitely. Let me try to get through the rest of this statement. There's only one more piece left here. The innocent working families of all backgrounds whose lives and dreams have been cut short by excessive violence, surveillance, and other abuses of the Bill of Rights by government pay the true price, an ultimate price, one that far exceeds the importance of any kid's game played tonight or ever at Camden Yards. And that, of course, he's referring to the baseball game that they canceled yesterday. We need to keep in mind people are suffering and dying around the U.S., and while we are thankful no one was injured at Camden Yards, there is a far bigger picture for poor Americans in Baltimore and everywhere who don't have jobs and are losing economic, civil, and legal rights. And this makes inconvenience at a ballgame irrelevant in light of the needless suffering government is inflicting upon ordinary Americans. So that's it, man. And this guy's message resonated with a lot of people. This article we did on it got like 250,000 views. Accountability is one huge thing, and that's why people are so angry, because we don't have accountability. So that being
duty combined with no accountability, go after the low guy, give him the heavy tax, give him the responsibility of accountability. The people we're supposed to respond to, trying to get up and go to work, it's your lunch break, go to McDonald's, and, it's time, you can go home now, like the housing issue, how many people got screwed on that? The retirement issues. I mean, it's just they keep like pecking at we the people to the point of like, hey, look, we're broke. Okay.
Man, it seems like they're trying to put us into a corner. Great thoughts. Thanks for calling in, by the way. I think you're here from 815 area code. I think we also have our special guest on the line as well, Jake Anderson. How you doing, Jake?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm a little bit sick for some reason. Not sure why. I've been fighting off this head cold, and it's got me kind of foggy in the head. And I was supposed to be at a protest today, and I couldn't make it down there. I was kind of sad about that. But anyway,
take a nice warm bath, buddy.
Yeah, I just took a shower. I feel a little better, but I don't know.
Yeah, that stuff about the Baltimore CEO. I mean, that could be the CEO of the year right there. I mean, that guy wrote like a social manifesto from the point of view of the elite, against the elite.
Exactly, and that's what was so remarkable about it, man. And it was a great statement. It rings true. Of course, it's it comes from a guy that's from a part of maybe the 1% or whatever you want to call it.
But how does this bud get breaded, man? He's in a service industry, man, and a lot of these American oligarchs are starting to see the writing on the wall, and they see the money flow coming to an end here. If everybody gets impoverished and we go to some socialist system, their own fortunes are tied into our well-being.
So, DB, to your point, you were saying, and I think you're absolutely correct, is that there's a slow sea change, a manufactured sea change where they're slowly rolling back these things. They're slowly seeing if they can pull over a curfew, which is unbelievable to me. I mean, come on, a curfew for real? And now...
Oh,
yeah,
well, do you ever heard of, like, Nazi Europe, the development of how did the bright people of Germany get duped by the Nazis? It was a process. They had their trickery. They had their, and then they just came straight up and was pretty much, shooting people in the face if you're not going to vote for them. And then as soon as they reach their certain level of power, then, let's develop Homeland Security and let's develop all these other things that are basically, putting blindfolds on their own people. And, because, I mean, really, did all of Germany, like, want, all these Nazi camps and, all this horrific stuff that the Nazis did? No. But you ask yourself, how did those, wonderful people get duped into that? And seeing, like, that's what we're dealing with propaganda, with the TV and, and everything of, trying to dupe us right back into that. Okay, yeah, bring on the curfew. Bring on, where are your papers? Your papers better be in order. What's your excuse for being out at 9 o'clock? Well, I'm older than 14.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, for real. I mean, it really is a very Nazi-like. I want to bring up a great reference here. I'm glad you brought that up. First, I want to we have a caller from 949 area code. How's it going? You're on the Anti-Media. Do you want to chime in on what we're talking about right now?
Yeah, hi. Nice to talk to you guys. Well, based off of what he was just saying about it becoming a Nazi state, it's very evident that's the metamorphosis of what's happening here, because history always repeats itself. So, I mean, they're basically turning the whole country against the country, police state. What I'm just sensing is about to happen is with, the weather situation and the food, they're about to take that up a notch. And
yeah, I mean, it's
the
food and
were discussing earlier about this is a testing ground. Like how far can we go with this before there's complete disregard. We're like,
if it goes live and no one does anything, then we know what they're gonna do. They'll just keep pushing, man.
There was a. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so far as they can go.
Well, they've been doing this with legislation for years. They slipped the Patriot Act through, and then they've been doing it all.
Certainly. Yes, this has been a rationing system. No, they didn't just come right in, wrap the rope around your head, and whammo, there you go.
There was a great
methodical, process.
There was a great AMA on Reddit the other day, and the AMA is basically Ask Me Anything, and people, all kinds of random people go on there, celebrities, scientists, all kinds of people. The other day, there was a woman on there, 90-something-year-old woman that was a survivor of Nazi Germany. She was a German woman that lived in Germany under the Nazis, still lives in the same town in Germany, and her grandson was there, and he helped set her up with this AMA on Reddit, and a bunch of people were asking her questions about her life under the Nazi Germans. And it provided some really eye-opening insight. And keep in mind, this woman was she was kind of a child. She was a young teenager when the Nazis were first, like 1939. She was like 13, 14, and stuff like that. Sure. And so one of the ways that they really indoctrinated those people was through their schooling, and they had a really strong propaganda through the schooling system, and unfortunately starting to see those same tendencies start to happen here in the U.S. Now, there is some pushback. Of course, there's like the unschooling movement, the homeschooling movement, the alternative schooling, and people starting to really start challenging that. But people have been starting to realize that the school system is very much a propaganda machine, and it really allows them to get away with all this stuff.
My prime example for any of that is the in the history books you hear about Thomas Edison, and you don't hear nothing about Tesla. I mean, to me,
Come on, Nick.
in the end, AC beat DC, and but yet all you hear about is, oh, Edison, invents the light bulb.
Yeah, I mean, our schooling, our history books are already skewed. Now, we're also joined on the line tonight by Manny Aguilar out of Los Angeles. How you doing tonight, Manny?
Hey, what's up, Nick? How you doing? Yeah, it's been a tough week for me. I won't go into it, but you can read my post, and it's just really sentimental, stuff like that. But, getting into this thing about the system, like in Mexico City, I'll give you an example, where I was fighting the system. We never go into and fight the tourists. We don't go after white people down there, just, where everybody's passing by or burning your car, blah, 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 just because we're frustrated and stuff like that, And, to me, it's like those 10,000 people that are protesting over there legally. The media is showing all these people that are 20 years old, stuff like that. That's disrespectful to me, because I'm an OG. These people don't know shit about what suffering's all about, you know what I mean? Bottom line, you know what I mean? I mean, they're saying, oh, we're oppressed. All of a sudden we're going to make a race thing, because in reality, people in Baltimore should be mad about what happened to 43 students in Mexico. Why should borders stop that madness? If they're really mad, we should go after the Fed. We should go after all those buildings. Going after cops, that's all these protesters are doing, going after cops. I go after the whole system. After the banks, I'm marching for animals, I'm marching for this, and stuff like that. Marching against the cops only is like basically reprimanding the secretary. The secretary's just in the front. The system is in the back. The secretary's just the front person. The cops are just the front people. We need to go after the commissioner, the courts, the whole damn system of the Senate, and keep on going. But my point is this. If I had hate and I believed in violence, this country would have been already bombed by us. Because you know what? The bottom line, I can play devil's advocate and say, you know what? Give me back my country. If these people feel like they got looted, well, you know what? This used to be Mexico one time, so I want it back. And I tell you, a lot of people that should be pissed off because they have been the most oppressed people I've ever seen, and they've been kind of screwed up and killed and everything. The Native American Indians. That's the bottom line,
Yeah, man. I mean, you're definitely right. The land was looted from the beginning. I mean, the place was looted from the Native Americans that used to live here, and then it was traded back and forth.
I kind of wonder,
it was turned into all this
karma, shit. Oof.
Yeah, and it was turned into all this corporatized, stuff where they were buying and selling land and livelihoods.
That wasn't even nearly what the worst thing that happened to Native Americans. It was like after World War II, when they rounded up all the adolescents and sent them off to these schools where they were not allowed to speak their native languages. They had to learn English, and there was this whole beatdown deal. There was all these schools that were built in the 40s that they just went around the reses and rounded up these kids. See, that's part of our academic failure through propaganda, through our history books. That this stuff isn't out there.
Caller from 815. We gotta make sure to let everyone speak and finish what they're saying. Cause
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries, man. Just a heads up. All right, go ahead. 949. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, this is a point I really wanted to stress and bring up. I strive my best to live as underground as I can, not support corporate America. I'm here in LA, and I can just say LA, capital of entertainment, and people are fucking, they don't even know what's going on. But in regards to education, this sort of mentality being bred, if it's not happening to my kid, it doesn't matter, is exactly what is, allowing the situation going on with sex trafficking, and it's bad. It's like what's happening to the kids, I think, is really an issue here that enough people don't pay attention to, because there's a whole fucking underground slave trade going on, and it's been going back for generations, and it just seems like that is the core of the issue with all of this. Because when the most innocent thing is being slaughtered, then that's what, and I get frustrated because it's like you only have as much access to information, but the thing is, yeah, you can go out and protest, but what about when you're in front of that rich-ass fucking, banker, whoever the fuck, who is doing this, who's doing this to these kids, who's perpetuating all of this. Are you going to fucking kill him? I'll fucking kill him. I'll say that. I don't care. And I just think more people that are down for that need to somehow connect, because that's where, you know, we're not reaching each other in that sense. Because if we did, then it, you know, they would go down. And
yeah, I mean, I think we do need like more direct action, and kind of back to what Manny was talking about. You know, striking the root of the issue. You know,
because of what's going on. Because who's to say, oh, well, we take them out, the next in line doesn't come up? That's not going to happen, because we're already pretty much in a police state. So my question is, what the fuck are people really afraid of? That's the real question I think I have. And
I think it's not so much what people are really afraid of. I think it's so much that, like, so many Americans are just preoccupied the next big game that's going on, stuff that they're not even really, like you know, there's this whole thing going on.
I just don't think that, I just, like, when it comes down to it, it's a choice. And I just feel like a lot of people are making choices.
Exactly. That's what I stress, accountability. Stand up for yourself and say, I'm a mature person. I decided to do this decision. You know, even like mob mentality of, well, I decided to steal a bunch of, you know, Air Jordans because everybody was robbing and looting. Well, I would still be accountable for my actions, regardless of the state of, you know, mob mentality or a state of peacefulness.
Yeah,
you know, I don't give a fuck. I'm at that point because you can't just like go to a protest and be like, yeah, revolution. There's a whole process of individuation on every single level of your being. It's not a daily thing. It's not a weekly thing. It's a fucking every sort of moment thing.
Yeah, it's a root core problem. Dereliction of duty. Nobody, you know, we elect these officials to do these jobs for us. Oh, you know, just like if you were to hire a roofer to come and fix your roof, or a plumber to fix your, and they give you the shaft. You know what happens to those people? The word gets around, they're out of business. But for some reason, you know, politicians or, you know, say like police officers that are known for, you know, some rough handling of their responsible care, you know, the so-called prisoners, the accountability of, you know, where in your own brain do you do that stuff? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a big problem of
personal choice, isn't it?
It's this idea. It's this lifestyle that's bred in these power structures. In the cops, you know, everybody knows about the thin blue line, and that all of that stuff kind of comes down from the top. It trickles down from the power structure, and they all inherit these ideas. And the cops have to be the strong men because they are the guards. The cops are the security guards, basically, for the politicians and the corporations, basically. And that's exactly what
about protect and serve us.
But that's exactly what we see. That's exactly what we see going on in Baltimore, and this kind of goes back to what Manny was talking about. You know, why are people smashing up CVS and breaking up windows of private businesses and stuff like that? Well, you know, you got literally a military surrounding all of the government buildings. You know what I mean? And you can't take on a military without having another military in a way like that.
Yeah,
you know,
pretty
you can't.
Much, yes,
you can't exactly march. The people that are out there protesting, they may want to march right into the police station and tear it down, but they physically can't because they don't have the equipment and the people and the training. You know, they don't have the riot shields, they don't have the batons, they don't have the tear gas and all that stuff. And I don't think, and you know, in the end, I don't think wouldn't at this point in time wouldn't be helpful if they did. But the thing is that they use this massive conventional.
Isn't to do that, you know. I don't think that, you know, the point of this protest is to just go and completely destroy the establishment down, like, you know.
I think
but the change factor is there, you know.
Go ahead.
Hey, I have a question. So it's funny to me that so much of the attention from, you know, anyone reactionary on this issue has, you know, been concerned over Baltimore's private property. You know, Ray Rice, or excuse me, not Ray Rice, the Baltimore Ravens player came out with this just angry tirade, got like 15 million views, saying that this is not the way to do it. And to a certain extent, he's right, but my question, and it's been asked many times on the internet today, is like, all these people that are concerned with, Baltimore's private property, where was their outrage when Wells Fargo was pushing these subprime mortgages on these families and then foreclosing on their homes, which has been left destruction about 1,000 times worse than any of this damage? Where was this outrage about personal property when there was a corporate autocracy that was the one doing the looting? I think it's a good question to ask.
Exactly. It's hypocrisy, man, and that's the whole thing. And this is
also the lack of education.
That too, and the education, and we all know education in urban areas, and I know because I went to I was educated in an urban area, and to be honest, the schooling sucked, man. I learned more outside of school than I did inside of it. But I think this kind of, really does show the hypocrisy, and not for everybody, because I know a lot of people that I know have been fighting, for a long time about what's been going on with the banking system, with the Fed, with, the whole Occupy Wall Street movement. Initially, it was at least based upon, going after the financial system and knowing
I was
what's
a
going on.
homeowner in all that. I got screwed. I watched my house go drop. I did all this work to my house, and it dropped at half in price because a couple of people in my neighborhood had to get foreclosed, and just the way the market just... Oh, and then the government, us, bailed the major banks out, while myself really ate the bullet. See, there again, they're taking so much from the poor and feeding, we're the ones that are hurting. Oh, I didn't get my extra $1 billion this year. Ugh.
I have a question.
And I mean, let me just get this in here. And I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong here, but don't you think that this whole subprime mortgage conspiracy, the whole financial crisis, I mean, in a way, that was a massive looting. And a partial audit found that it was about a $16 trillion looting, to be exact. And, we're talking about, I mean, I don't know the extent of the damage in Baltimore. I'm guessing it's going to be in the tens of millions of dollars or whatever. But in the end, I think the thing to keep in mind with the big picture here is that in the end, we're talking about tens of millions of bucks in damage from people that are really, essentially trying to stand up to the power structure, as compared to the 2008, 2009 looting, which would cost us 16 trillion bucks. I mean, there's a big difference there. And for people that didn't talk about, that weren't upset about this looting, because I know a lot of people just went on with their lives and it was like, oh, whatever. We're not going to question the fact that Wall Street got bailed out. We're not going to question the fact that all these people lost their homes and stuff. And we're just going to, and then at the same time, they're saying, and this hypocrisy really goes really deep here. At the same time, they're saying, oh, I can't believe people are smashing up storefronts and burning down CVS. But then at the same time, the same people are cheering on that woman that was smacking her kid around too. Her kid was down there, and the woman's smacking the kid around, and people are like, yeah, that's what you got to do. And it's like, wait, I thought you were just saying violence was a bad thing, and then you're saying violence is okay if it's against a child? I mean, what in the hell is going on? This is totally hypocritical. But at the same time, I understand
think of this: if you're a storefront owner in Baltimore and you've been getting shapped by your insurance company, and it ended up where, these guys come in and wreck your stuff, and you were like, yes, I won the lottery.
Yeah, we have another caller on from 516. We'll go to you first, and then we'll go back to 949. 516, what do you want to talk about? We're on the topic of Baltimore. We're talking about the banking system too, though. How we were looted by that a few years ago, and that kind of in a way went under the radar. What do you think?
Yeah, right. Well, for the whole banking crisis, the subprime mortgage crisis, like that was kind of a more. It's not as direct. It's more like a white collar crime, and it doesn't manifest until after the fact. What you see in Baltimore, that's unmitigated rage. That's a cause and effect response. Mr. Gray was killed, and there wasn't any kind of arrest made or any kind of reprimand.
That being said, Baltimore is a great city, and they got a great team. The Orioles played today, and they played in an empty stadium, and I think that says a lot. If you can reach a state like that, and that doesn't, that's not even saying anything about how the situation was managed by the mayor. But what I really wanted to kind of stress was the VP of the Orioles put out a really profound statement, and I don't know if you guys touched on it.
Yeah, we read the statement a little earlier.
Right, and I think he really hit the nail on the head of the issue here, and it's about a history of corruption and indignation, and it reaches a boiling point, and people get upset, and if you don't stand for anything, you fall for anything. So you really got to have to find out your convictions, and I'm still looking at my words here, but I think there is in it a generational kind of different perspective from the younger generation, even from our decades earlier, and decades to come. Everyone's looking at it from a different perspective, and we got to reconcile our differences if we want to see any kind of peace or any kind of change.
Definitely, man. And one of the things, I'm glad you brought it back up about that statement and what the guy pointed to there a lot, is that, it's an overall system of oppression. And we saw it boil over in Ferguson just, late last year. We saw it boil over in New York City after Eric Garner was killed by the NYPD. And now we're seeing it in Baltimore. Little known fact that LA had some massive anti-police brutality protests where 300 people were arrested in LA. And
it's not getting in the mainstream, but it's being exposed, of other brutalities going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's going on all over the place. And but the thing is that I think, as the caller from 516 was saying, is that we're dealing with this system that's been crushing down on us for a very long time, whether we're talking about financially, economically, culturally, all kinds of different ways. And it's really, the younger people are just seeing it as like, what in the hell is this? And people that have had access to the internet, yeah, the schooling system is effed up, but the people that, the younger people that are the internet generation, I mean, they have a way different perspective on this stuff. And we see a lot of those people are the ones out there in the streets. And I don't think they're going to put up with it, man. And it was, in a way, it was part of all this brainwashing and stuff that went on, but it backfired, I think, on the establishment. They thought they were going to get these people so lazy and docile that they weren't going to do anything.
With the internet,
exactly.
Young
Exactly.
Gamers and stuff saying, "Hey, man, I can play a video game with some dude from Germany or Iran or wherever." That exposure of being able to say, "Hey, I can interact with somebody not from here." I remember back in the day in old school, it was all about that pen pal stuff. Have a pen pal.
Yeah, and that stuff it takes a long time to get answers back and forth. Go ahead, Manny.
Yeah, it's sort of a double-edged sword with the internet, how it does connect people, but at the same time it could, kind of spread a bad message as well, and I think, I don't know if it's the younger crowd that's embracing more of the violence and trying. I don't know. I think they might have more vigor than the older folk, but I think they should really kind of reevaluate how they respond to this, because in the past, the way that we responded to it was nonviolent protest, and that was one of the most effective ways.
We've seen footage of nonviolence going on, and some guy going around just spraying everybody in the face with stuff.
Yeah, one of the things also to keep in mind is that in Baltimore there was 6 days of protests, peaceful protests after after Freddie Gray was killed. And then after those 6 days, and then the funeral happened, and then all of a sudden there's these huge protests that turn into riots, and then all of a sudden it's a national story. Before that, I mean, a lot of people, most people,
The story was
outside
fun.
of outside of the people that continuously follow police accountability news, people that listen to the anti-media, obviously probably knew about Freddie Gray. But for the people that didn't know about it, for those 6 days of peaceful protest, nobody heard about it. But then it turns into a riot, and then all of a sudden there's a national media narrative.
Because that's when you get your ratings.
So I mean, and I really want to really take the line as far as I really want to.
My theory on that is I think it's insurgentness from interest groups that love to make he who wants us to have martial law, have curfew. He who wants us to live life like that. They're the one. I think they send in a couple troublemakers. And then, of course, I don't know, it's that sheep mentality of the propaganda program people that, as soon as one guy is doing something, then, I don't know. In the end, to me, it's still about accountability. You're still up to your own, unless you're classified as insane, I think otherwise you're held accountable.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to me is that I kind of want to take the line here of the Martin Luther King kind of stance on this stuff. Is that, the riots obviously aren't good, but at the same time, I think they do play a role. For one, coming from a media perspective, as I was mentioning, it takes it from being just a guy that was killed by Baltimore cops that basically nobody outside of police accountability circles knows about, to being where there's several million people that are talking about this at the same time. Whether they're talking about it in a negative way, positive way, whatever. Either way, there's still a discussion going on, and I think that's important.
And
the more that people talk, I think the more people talk about this stuff, and just like we're talking tonight here on the show, the more that we can kind of find common ground and start to understand what's going on. And secondly, man, I mean, as the caller from 815 was mentioning about the peaceful stuff. It's for a lot of people, I know it gets frustrating, being out there protesting, week after week, month after month. And then it's like, damn, man, when are we going to start seeing results and stuff like that? And I know some people, that plays a factor in what goes on, so it's frustration. But, to me, I always like to look at the picture from like
frustration if you don't get, it doesn't seem like any advancement, but it's just that frustration of when people are out there doing that, and then, like I'm saying, they get sprayed in the face and stuff.
We're gonna, go ahead, 949, go ahead.
I feel like it's all relevant. When I said why are they burning a CVS, that's relevant. People need to burn fucking CVS's down. But what I feel like enough attention isn't being drawn, what my focus is I want a list of every name of basically the richest people in the world. I want to see a list of that. Because that's where we need to go after. That's where people,
Well, start with the Bilderbergs. The old Europe money.
The problem with that is that the richest people, like the actual richest people in the world, and we're not talking about Bill Gates and stuff. I mean, it's almost,
we're talking people that pay them.
Yeah, it's really hard to know who those people are.
Rothschild Trust, $500 trillion.
Well,
what?
That's part of it. Yeah.
That's all of it.
Where people?
But in the end, because it was the original establishment with the Federal Reserve, stole all the money. Oh, where'd this bank come up? They had all this money. Oh, well, because they stole all this money from people. Oh, well, there you go.
I think that's the age-old question. How do you hold these people accountable? But who's going to be the one to kind of, it's paradoxical.
I know that's the double negative I hate right now in this. That's my quagmire is.
Yeah,
but it happened
like
so long ago. How are you gonna really hold those people? They already died. Blah blah blah. That's why you understand that CIA records. They have only so many years until they get released. That MK Ultra now those have been released. They were going around giving LSD to people. All sorts of people, DEA, all sorts of U.S. Marshals. This story about a U.S. Marshal who got dosed by the CIA, and oh, well, he lost his job because he pointed his gun out the bar. He didn't know why, but then he found out years later. Well, that one guy that got classified for going around giving people LSD without even acknowledging,
they gave him the vets too,
Yeah, whatever.
Absolutely.
Just the mentality of who the hell would go around doing that to people.
516, go ahead.
No, I you got to ask the questions, and sometimes I don't condone the violence in Baltimore, but if it takes a riot for people to pay attention, then
so be it.
It comes to
it
comes to that. I don't condone the violence, and I don't want.
But the thing isn't.
But the
it isn't really for.
All right, hold on a second. We got another caller on the line from 682 area code. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up, man? I'm just but I think the whole thing isn't because of Freddie Gray. It's not for Freddie Gray. It's for all the murders that's been happening, down there. So.
Yeah, there's been over 100 police-related deaths since 2010 in Maryland. And the majority of those have gone on in Baltimore. And is there 100 cops behind bars after killing these 100 people? No. Well,
no, they should be though.
Were some of those 100 people actual criminals that actually were like maybe shooting at the cops and they actually shot back and killed a guy? Yeah, maybe 25% of those numbers are actual people that in the situation it was legitimate to shoot a guy. But the
really,
the majority
of
it.
Shoot him in the knee deal. You
know
what I'm saying? Can I pull the gun? Oh, boom, bow. Shoot him in the knee. Give him a good punch.
People that survive are involved in lawsuits. That's why it's always a fatality.
Do you really think that this is good for what they're doing? Do you actually think the riot is good?
It's obviously not.
If you want to know.
The problem in Baltimore, but the question is what can be done about it? Are they so we have there's an obvious correlation. It can't be ignored. So then with
we
that,
have to give.
Do you is there an overhaul of the entire police department, or is there some kind of oversight on the police? And what about
not necessarily your
what about the majority of other places
but certainly the upper command, the commissioners, the mayors, then the politicians, the ones that are producing and pushing all this.
All right, hold on a second.
I'd rather see things burn because they don't want to go through that system because people feel that system is broken and it doesn't work for them. That's why doing that, an overhaul like that is a massive undertaking.
Well,
that's revolution.
And that's people's job.
They do an investigation
we are talking about,
and they say the guy's innocent or whatever, or it's unfounded or blah blah blah. But it's
but if you look at Freddie Gray's background, it's all criminal, a criminal background, He had a criminal background, and I don't believe it's all about race.
He was under their care. Think about Iraq with the Marines and stuff, and they were mistreating Iraqi prisoners. Think about
I bet he was undercover or something.
The South complained about the Union had a prison that they were real brutal to the South, and the South had their little prison that they were really mean to, the Japanese against the Chinese and stuff. Vietnam.
It's all planned out. Do you think it's all planned out, right?
Hold on, 815. We gotta make sure that we gotta let everyone talk here, man. We're actually down. We're coming down to the end of the show, so we're gonna have to do a roundup, a closeout here. We only got about 6 minutes left or so. First, I'm gonna go to DB first because we were talking. The caller from 516 was talking about how what can we do about it. I come from the school of thought that kind of thinks I'm not exactly sure if the system is salvageable and it has to be torn down and rebuilt. But other people think otherwise and that it can be reformed. I'm not exactly completely opposed to that idea.
RoboCop.
But I want to go to DB because he had something to say about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. I just from talking to people in my travels, I've come to the conclusion there's only a couple things we can do. One, we can, as a people, protest so much against corruption within the higher ranks that the rank and file cops actually just go and do their job. And I don't know how we're going to make that kind of political pressure on them. Maybe if they get pay cuts. Secondly, what we can do.
Good idea.
Yeah. Secondly, what we can do is we can just follow basically the Australian way. And the Australian way was really simple. They said, we don't want guns really in anybody's hands except the military, period. They disarmed the cops, they disarmed the people, and then they raised the hell out of the standards. So cops now are all college educated. This is from what I've learned from citizens in my travels. And it seems to work for them. I mean, they really don't have these police brutality cases. There's taserings, but there's no shootings.
Yeah, and most of Europe, man, a lot of Europe is all the cops are disarmed. I mean, the street cops in England aren't armed with guns. I mean, they have non-lethal.
Like I have one thing to say. In order to change the world, we must change ourselves first. If we're not going to change if we're not going to change our world, ourselves, everybody's going to do the same thing over and over again. It's never going to change,
Exactly, man. I agree with you. The caller from 949 was actually talking about that as well earlier. 949, do you have anything else to say? We got to be quick, though. We're about to close this show out.
It's already going down. It's not a matter of salvaging the system. It's a matter of realizing that there's nothing wrong with technology. We need technology. That's our future. But the system is just like, it's literally just like fucking itself over. Like, what is the point to it anymore? How is it serving us? Is it? I don't think it is. It's not serving me. It's not serving my family. It's not serving my friends. Anyone that I know. I can't say there's one person I've ever met, one human being I've heard of. Oh, actually, no, I can't say that. It is serving someone.
Like, I kind of think it's a good idea because they're like.
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think that we need.
No, I don't think about like them ruling us is a good idea. I think we need to take control and then tell them to back off.
I like the phrase "overgrow the system," and I think both of you were kind of referencing that in a way. It's not a matter of overthrowing the system that we have. It's a matter of just making it irrelevant. And sooner or later, enough people start realizing it, and that's the thing that we're really lacking right now. And why are people raging out in the streets? Well, because there's not that many alternatives that are readily available. So we got to start working on that as much as we do have to, at the same time, expose what's going on and talk about what's going on. We also have to have viable alternatives. We had a caller on Monday, Luis Fernando Maisis, joined us from the Emancipated Human, and he was talking about this app called the Peacekeeper app, which people are starting to use as an alternative to police, and it's an app. And just as a caller from 949 was saying, it's a piece of technology that we could actually use as a solution, where we could start kicking these cops out of the communities if we say, hey, we don't need you no more, dude. We're taking care of it on our own. This is the idea, I think, that helps us overgrow the system. We got to finish up the calls here. Manny, you got anything to add to this? Any final thoughts?
Well, just basically, you have to have peace within yourself before you can create peace. And if you're going to be mostly out there getting mad about something, it's not about Baltimore. Get mad about what's going on in the world, because if this planet goes to hell, if you don't care about the environment or you don't fight people like Monsanto and all that, Baltimore or anything else is not going to be around anyway. So that's what basically I need to say.
Good point, man. Thanks. Jake.
Hey, man. Yeah, I'll just bring it back around to Martin Luther King, like you were talking. When he talked about riots, he called them. He said riots are the language of the unheard, and I think it's a good thing to remember is this national media narrative that's being created, like you said, around the idea of the riot. The riot is a social tool. It's like Martin Luther King said. It's a language of people who feel disenfranchised, and he said urban riots must now be recognized as a durable social phenomena. It's a pretty powerful statement that I think people that claim to be adherents of Martin Luther King, I think they need to really look closer at what he said about something that's happening right in front of our eyes,
Thanks, Jake. Thanks, everyone, for calling in. Great conversation tonight. Check us out tomorrow, same time, same website, 5 days a week. Peace.
All right. Thanks. Peace. Buenas noches.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo. stereo, stereo.